All right, everybody, welcome back to Horn Takes, your Texas football and baseball talk destination. I am your host, Sean Redfern. It is a Friday. It is a Longhorn Friday. Fridays are awesome. Longhorn Fridays are the most awesome of all the Fridays. We're going to talk some recruiting updates today. Texas on fire right now in recruiting, especially defensively, where I made a comment on a message board a few weeks ago and it got blown way out of proportion, as things on message boards generally do. But anyway, they're on fire right now. We'll do a recruiting update. We'll do 4 keys and a prediction on this game coming up Saturday night against UTSA. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube at Horn Takes. If you love listening to podcasts, check us out on Apple Podcast, iHeart Podcast, Spotify Podcast, or you can find us at horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com. All the episodes go up there. Recruiting, big last couple weeks in recruiting. I guess teams being down and you being up makes for some late decommits and flip type deals. Uh, we talked a lot on a show about a week ago about the lack of top 10 Texas recruits that were committed to this class. A lot of guys going out of state, a lot of elite players. Generally, the top 10 in Texas, lots of 5 stars, maybe all 5 stars, and a lot of really high 4 stars. So we're talking like blue chip elite guys in the state of Texas when you start talking about the top 10. So we just kind of talked about how, you'd like to be able to lock down your own state, right? And I think you do want to lock down your own state. But I think maybe it might not matter as much as it used to matter. It's just a different world we live in today. A lot of these guys, a lot of these guys that live in Texas today haven't always lived in Texas, so they don't have the same type of connection to Texas that maybe someone that grew up here forever and maybe grew up, right outside of Austin or really anywhere in Texas that's not Texas Tech or, maybe College Station where Aggie is. So, and I think the other thing, if you're going to yank people from other states, if you're going to pull all their top guys, I think the main thing, I don't care where the players are coming from, is what I'm trying to get at. But it sure makes it easier to me if you lock down your own state, especially you're in the state of Texas. You're gonna have really good recruits, right? So that's kind of what all that was about. And then I don't know, about that same time, we had a decommit in the defensive backfield, and I just said, I wish the staff could recruit the way it recruits offensively, and it wasn't meant to be a negative thing. They're like a Ferrari on offense. I mean, they recruit lights out on offense, and I think defensively, it's not bad at all. It's not even like just good. It's really good, but it's still a step below that offensive recruiting, in my opinion. It was certainly at the time, but man, Texas is on an absolute roll right now. Here's a couple of defensive commitments they've got just recently. 5 star safety Jonah Williams. This is all since the defensive recruiting statement I made. That again just got blown completely out of proportion and misrepresented, and everything you could possibly think of that goes on a message board happened with that individual post. It was funny because I even said I don't think the sky is falling at all, but I wish the staff could recruit the defensive side like they recruit the offensive side. Anyway, I'll let it go. 5 star safety Jonah Williams, who man, that guy's an elite safety. He's also an elite baseball player, just a hell of an athlete. He's going to be big time wherever he goes. He's committed to the University of Texas since then. 4 star defensive lineman Myron Charles out of Florida. I believe he's out of Florida. He was committed to Florida State forever. Once they lost 2 games in a row, he started looking around. Texas finished second for him in the first place. He is now committed to the University of Texas. And then just yesterday, guy on the screen here, class of 26, 4 star. He's a composite 5 star. But when I go by the ratings, I go by what's on Horns 247. So I guess I could go by the composite. Maybe that's a little more accurate. I don't know. But I'm on Horns 247, so I go by those ratings. He's a 4-star there, a very high 4-star. Cornerback Zealous Hicks. This is an interesting one to me because this is a Georgia guy. This is a guy that's right there in Georgia's backyard. You talk about not being able to recruit your state and that being, depending on which state you're in, some states they got to go out of state. They just don't have there's just not the same talent in a lot of those states as there is in Texas, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana. That whole little southeast section of the country, really full of talent, uh, football wise. So if you can go steal people top, and this is, by the way, he's the top safety in this class, pretty much widely known, widely accepted. He's the top safety in the 2026 class. He's a big kid, like 6'2", 6'3", depending on which one you're looking at, 185, 190 pounds. So that's a big kid. It's kind of what Demarion Overshone was when he got to Texas. He was a big safety, 5-star, big guy. I think he was probably a little bit bigger than Zillis is. Zealous. I wish I knew how to pronounce that first name. I know I'm butchering it. Point being, man, the defensive commits coming in like wildfire ever since I said what I said. So I guess it kind of makes me even look stupider if you think that I was saying that defensive recruiting is bad. Blake Gideon, by the way, who's got a lot of sort of backlash. Blake Gideon's been getting backlash since he was at Texas. Bless his heart, he dropped an interception against Texas Tech. Not a tough one either. That would have for sure sent Texas to the national championship game in 2008. Instead, we get the I dreamt it in my head play by Michael Crabtree. Just kind of a chunk it up, and I don't whatever. I hate that play. So he's got that going for him, and then he hasn't really recruited all that well at the safety spot until last season. He started out. So check out these guys. Check out these guys that have committed now under Blake Gideon in the last two recruiting classes. Jonah Williams, Zillis Hicks, Xavier Filsaime last year was a very, very highly rated. He might have been the number one safety in the country, 5-star guy out of McKinney. You got like I'm not sure about maybe Wardell Mack or well, what's the other guy? He is listed as a safety on his recruiting profile, but he says he's a cornerback, a Kobe Black. He was a 5-star guy. And then you got like guys like Rubel at ING Academy. So man, he has filled his coffers with safety prospects in the last two recruiting classes. So good on Blake Gideon. Uh, I never, I don't think I've ever really had a comment or any commentary on individual recruiters like that. So I never said anything bad about Blake Gideon as far as recruiting goes. But man, he has definitely turned it around. If you had that opinion 2 years ago, you might have been valid, but I think that opinion is absolutely no longer valid. And I think my opinion that the defensive recruiting hasn't been as good as the offensive recruiting probably holds a lot less water today because those are some big names. Those are some big time targets. They've got a couple of weekend visitors. Uh, I wouldn't say like unexpected. One of them I would definitely say unexpected. 5-star athlete Michael Terry III. He's coming to the Texas game this weekend. And then there's a 3-star defensive lineman, Joseph, I think it's in Bachu, out of Georgia. He's a Florida commit currently. He will be in town on an official visit this weekend. And then I saw where a Texas A&M commit, defensive lineman Sims, I believe is his last name. He is coming for the Mississippi State game this year. So a lot of defensive guys looking to join the fold. Remember, a few months ago, defensive line recruiting was sort of under the microscope. Everybody was going, "What the hell's going on?" And I think what you saw was you saw the defensive line coach leave. He goes to LSU. Bo Davis. Bo Davis hasn't always been a great recruiter, but he's definitely well known for being able to develop talent. I mean, look what he did with the last two defensive lines, the interiors at the University of Texas. Those were guys that really came on strong under his sort of oversight, his development. So he can definitely do that. But he took some of our recruits with him to LSU, and then we got a new guy that honestly he was a defensive line coach in the NFL. Before that, he was a defensive line coach at I want to say like Western Kentucky, something like that. So just sort of starting out on his journey of being a defensive line coach at a very high level. And I don't think he had any relationships. And now I feel like he's starting to build some relationships because we're starting to see more and more defensive line guys start to get more interested in Texas again. So all positive stuff. I think the interesting thing is we saw what this staff and Steve Sarkisian did from a recruiting perspective when they weren't going out and winning anything. Year one was not great, but they put together a really good class. Year two was a little bit better, but not great. And they put together a really good class. This last class, really good after, obviously, good season. And this one's shaping up to be, man, this one could be. I mean, there's an outside shot that this could be the number 2 or number 1 class in the country, which again it doesn't always translate to wins and championships. But I think what we could all agree on is the teams that just continuously, you look at the teams that continuously stack talent year after year after year, they have highly rated recruiting classes. If you look at that group that continuously does that, the champion comes out of that group almost exclusively. Sure, there will be exceptions. That's why you have the rule. So this Texas class shaping up really nicely as we head closer and closer to early signing period. And I'm still not convinced that a lot of these Texas boys that are in the Texas top 10 won't reconsider their commitment to their current commitment and possibly flip. I think, especially the ones that went to Oregon, that are committed to Oregon right now, I think Texas is where they really want to be. But we all know it's been widely reported that Phil Knight is just throwing cash at that Oregon football program from an NIL perspective. And I think they just couldn't turn down the money. So we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the season goes. Right now, we're on a really good trajectory. Be really cool to see what happens as we get closer to December with recruiting. So we'll try to update you guys every week, every couple weeks on recruiting. Sometimes it's super dead. Other times, like the last couple weeks, man, it really picks up. 4 keys and a prediction for this UTSA Roadrunner game, 6 p.m. Saturday night at Darrell K. Royal. I think it's supposed to be really, really hot. We will not be there, but I think it's supposed to be in the upper 90s, mid to upper 90s, which is, that is sweltering hot in Austin, Texas. You got your humidity, you got your big concrete stadium, you got your metal stands. It's going to be hot off in DKR. So please, as you drink a beer, drink a water, keep yourself hydrated. Let's talk about these 4 keys. Key number 1 to me, don't buy the hype. You just beat the brakes off of the defending national champions in their house. It'd be really, really easy for this Texas team to sort of feel arrived, feel content with where they're at. Obviously, what they were able to go do in Ann Arbor proves that they have a good roster. They did the work in the offseason to get prepared to start playing football games. So it'd be really easy to start feeling a little content and feel like, man, we're here. We don't have to focus as hard. That is 1,000,000,000% rat poison, Texas. Do not do that. I think a huge key to this game, and probably not in the outcome. I do not think the outcome of this game is in doubt. I mean, there is a smidgen of a chance that UTSA could beat this Texas team. And it is holding on. It is grasping by a tiniest string that chance. It's not going to happen. But I think what we could see is the difference between just a game where Texas comes in, absolutely rolls this team, and a game where maybe you're sitting in the second half and you wake up and you go, shit, like, what are we doing? Kind of like a lot of the games were a couple years ago against some of the lesser opponents that we played. So I want to see this team stay focused. I think that's really important. Key number 2, I think they need to establish the running game early. They should be able to do it, number 1. With Texas, you just ran the ball down Michigan's throat pretty well. They ought to be able to just absolutely steamroll this UTSA defense. And so you want to be able to go out there and do it. Prove that you can execute that. And I think not only doing that, but I think you run the ball and you have success with it, it opens up things in the passing game. I think it keeps Ewers a little cleaner. Like we don't have to worry about injury as much if we're not dropping back 40 times to throw the ball against UTSA. Third, I think it's just what dominant offensive lines want to do. They want to go out and eat, man. These guys, they want to go mow over some people. Go back and watch those guys if you already haven't in this Michigan game. And it was just absolutely nasty what they did to some really, really good players. Michigan has their starting 4 on defense. That front 4 is really, really good, folks. And they just absolutely owned them for 4 quarters. I think the other thing he does, you come out and start running the ball down their throat. You make it very apparent very early that this game is over. There is no chance you have to win this game. And so just mentally being able to go out there and run the ball gives you all the confidence, completely strips what shred of confidence they have coming into this game away. I think it's the way to go. We'll see if it happens. I know we have a love-hate with Sark on this running game thing, and we're starting to understand what Sark means when he says we want to be a running football team. What he really means is we want to run it when we want to run it. I think this is the perfect opportunity to want to go in and run it. We'll see what happens on Saturday. Number 3, release the hounds. This should absolutely be a blowout. Let's get some guys on the field in some real game situations, and let's let them run the defense. Let's let them run the offense. Let's not make this one of these games that's absolutely boring as hell in the second half. Let's let these guys go make some plays. Remember what I said yesterday, and I really believe this. These types of games, these games where you're playing guys that you're probably going to just blow out, all they are to me is practice for the tougher games down the road. So you want to go out and you want to practice how you're going to play those tougher games. The only way to do that is to let these guys play. And so I want to see. I want to see no matter who's out there on the field, and I hope it's all of them. I hope a lot of guys get to play in this game. But I want to see people running around making plays, not just being on the field. Key number 4, and it kind of ties to this one: all gas, no brakes. This is Sark's motto from the beginning. Sometimes I've questioned it because we've seen those breaks at times. We have seen this. We've seen the play calling just kind of go into a shell. I think we saw it a little bit Saturday up in Ann Arbor. And I'm not trying to be critical of it, but if you're going to say all gas, no brakes, let's be all gas, no brakes. Let's cut the brake lines this weekend and let these guys roll for 4 quarters and see what pops out on the other side. Those are my 4 keys for this game. The prediction, folks, you know what's going on. Texas is better up and down this roster. They have the better coaching staff. There is not a position on the field where Texas doesn't have a massive talent advantage, a massive depth advantage. I don't think there's a single guy on UTSA's team that would be in the 2 deep at the University of Texas. I truly believe that. UTSA has struggled really badly against any good competition. We saw Texas State last night damn near pull out a win against Arizona State. I know that group's got to be disappointed. But they're a good team. They struggled bad against that good team. And then they kind of struggled against the bad competition they've played. So I think Jeff Traylor will come in. He's going to have his team's mind right. They're going to be excited to play. They're going to be ready to play Saturday night. It's up to Texas to go out there and make them not ready to play or make them forget all that, make that excitement go away in a hurry. I think Texas is going to come in absolutely laser focused for this game. We saw Sark talking to his team through the media, 60 minutes of hell comments. We don't need to let up. We need to play hard. And going back to the play calling, It's up to the players to be intense and go execute those things at a high level as well. Whether we run the same play over and over again or not, it's up to them. So they got to show up with the all gas, no brakes mentality as well. You've seen Sark talk about how this coaching staff, nobody feels like they've arrived. Everybody's still hungry for the next week of football. Saw a video of Hayden Connor. It might have been on like the little hype video thing or the little video that Texas Sports put out about the Michigan game. He's looking at one of his teammates. He says, "We've got so much more to go win," something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but that's the gist of what he said. We've got so much more to go win. So I think this team realizes how good they can be, how special they can be, and they're not going to let complacency ruin any of that. So I think Texas comes in and just absolutely is focused, ready to go. I think we're going to see a fast start. We're going to see a fast whole game. Texas is just going to throw wave after wave after wave of talented depth at UTSA. And UTSA, if it stays close for a little bit, it won't stay close for long. They're just not going to be able to stand up to all of that. I like Texas 55-10, and I think UTSA makes it 10 really, really late on some garbage type touchdown. So 55-10 Texas over UTSA today. That is tomorrow rather. That is the prediction. We will be back on Sunday, probably Sunday. We're not traveling this week, so I'm going to try to do it Sunday with Drunk Sean thoughts. And just to recap, Drunk Sean thoughts, just all my drunk thoughts as I'm watching the game. I will not watch the broadcast again until after I do Drunk Sean thoughts. I really won't look at any stats until after I do Drunk Sean thoughts. I like to play the game of how smart is Drunk Sean is really what this is all about. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Give us a subscribe, give us a follow. It will not cost you guys a thing. But we sure appreciate the support. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com. That's right there on the screen, folks, with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. You guys have an outstanding Longhorn Friday, and let's have a better Saturday. Y'all get hooked.